Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, May the 3rd, Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I'd like to invite the Reverend Tom Wilson to lead us in invocation. Reverend Wilson, as I mentioned to you earlier this morning, it's a pleasure that we're now able to do this in person rather than me reading these invocations each for the past year, but it's a pleasure to see you and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Well, the themes of the agenda for the day is the community, creating communities of strength. We come together today and we begin with Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, for those who serve in keeping the public safe. For the medical professionals battling this epidemic. For the police and fire personnel. For the social services professionals helping the disadvantaged. For the beauty of these Outer Banks, which calls us to remain and others to visit. For the wisdom of our older Americans, freely given and needed. We need these strengths in order to face our challenges. We need to increase compassion for the poor. We need to find ways to heal, to help those who work here but cannot afford to live here. We need to be freed from the legacy and persistence of racism, exploitation, and discrimination. We need to have patience to listen, dialogue, and interact creatively with those with whom we disagree. We need to cooperate with the universe, whose arc bends towards justice. We need to honor those who keep safe the public servants who deal with such things like sanitation. We need to work for participation of all citizens to become more involved in all elements of our government. We need patience to do what is needed to keep our children safe and grow in our schools and this community. We need to have all this today and each day. And for that, we ask grace. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Wilson. May we stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That brings us to County Manager. I'll turn this meeting over to you.
Chairman, item 1 on the agenda is the chairman's opening remarks.
Thank you, County Manager. Just a few items this morning to go over. There's 2 special ladies I'm going to recognize this morning. And then I have 2 other items. One being, there's a new electric transport in our area, and it's called Cassie. I was privileged to attend that National Park Service unveiling of Cassie, this electric transport that they partnered with NCDOT to have this built. I attended that last week on the 20th. That shuttle, this is a little shuttle that that the Park Service has a trial period for until July 1 at the Wright Memorial Park. And this little shuttle will go from the Visitor Center to the back side of the monument to where the bronze flyer is. And then it will go back to the actual visitor center, or the entrance of the park. So if you get a chance and you have the opportunity to go over there, check it out. It's a neat little vehicle, electric vehicle that the Park Service partnered with the state of North Carolina NCDOT to try a pilot program in the park. So pretty neat little vehicle. It's all satellite driven. They do have an individual on board that could override, but everything is done by satellite. It's a pretty neat little vehicle. Another item, we've talked about this for many, many, many months, and that is essential housing, workforce housing. I'm bringing this to your attention for the public once again this morning, that this board has worked very, very diligently to try to bring about a project, either it be workforce housing or essential housing for our community. And we have a number of options on our plate that we're looking at. Since we've been doing this, we've had a lot of folks come to us for some potential purchases of property to do essential or workforce housing. And so none of this is difficult because it has to do with tax credits. It has to do with a lot of issues. It has to do with, can we afford to build these? And can we afford to build them that workforce housing can afford, or essential housing such as teachers, fire, EMS can afford? So this takes time. And we've been diligently working on this for probably a year and a half, a couple of years. And we're close to hopefully bringing something to the table. We've got a workshop this afternoon that we'll have some additional discussions in reference to that. So the public needs to be aware, and that's why I'm bringing this to the public's attention today, that this is not something that the Dare County Board of Commissioners has overlooked. We have been diligently working on this for a long time, and we're a lot closer than we have been in the past. There are two ladies that I would like to recognize this morning that have a lot of history in Dare County and contributed to their community tremendously. One being, I call her Miss Virginia. I had the pleasure of serving on this board with her, Miss Virginia Tillett. Virginia Tillett was a professional educator and Outer Banks community leader who served the people of Dare County as an elected official for a long, long period of time. She was well known for her dedication to public service and for making a profound difference in her community. In 2002, Virginia Tillett was elected to the Dare County Board of Commissioners, where she served as a commissioner for 12 years on this board. And prior to being elected to the Dare County Board of Commissioners, Miss Virginia served on the Dare County Board of Education for some 20 years, holding positions of both chair and vice chair. During her time as a professional educator, she worked with the Dare County Head Start program from 1965 to 1974. And in 2006, she retired from her role as assistant dean and coordinator of the continuing education and workforce development program at the College of the Albemarle in Dare campus. And she served in that role for some 26 years. In 2006, she was honored by North Carolina Governor Michael Easley, who awarded her the prestigious Order of the Longleaf Pine Award. Why do I bring up Miss Virginia this morning? Well, the North Carolina Black Alliance this year on April the 23rd, bestowed upon her an award as one of the 2021 Trailblazer. They have a Trailblazer award that they presented to her on April the 23rd. And the Black Alliance is a network of African American legislators, their county commissioners, their school board members, their elected municipal leaders. And they work very, very hard with issues dealing with voters' rights, criminal justice reform, health and wellness, and economic development and education. So congratulations to Miss Virginia on that 2021 Trailblazer Award from the North Carolina Black Alliance. Next lady I'd like to recognize, a lot of you folks, just as Miss Virginia, will know this lady quite well, and that is Miss Frances William Harris. Fran passed away April the 26th with a long and courageous struggle with cancer. She graduated from Elizabeth City High School, and she was president of her student body in 1955. In 59, she graduated from the Women's College in Greensboro with a degree in home economics. She was a lover of the 50s and 60s music, arts, and she gathered and enjoyed memorabilia from those eras, especially movies and music and clothing in that era. She was of a devoted Roanoke Island Women's Club working member tirelessly to raise money, even back then, for deserving scholarships of youth in our area, just like we continue to do here today, a number of years later. Fran worked for Manteo Elementary as a teacher, as assistant, Dare County Extension Service, and the Veterans Office before she became clerk to this board. As a matter of fact, she served as clerk to this board from 1991 to 2008, some 17 years, under Terry Wheeler as county manager. She came to work at Dare County in 1984, and she had a 24-year career right here working for Dare County. I talked to Terry Wheeler earlier this morning, and Terry said that Fran was one wonderful, classy, respectful human being. He said she was, the board used to tease her because she was quite a dresser, and they used to call her Miss Prissy, but they had a fond respect of her, and she was always very, very respectful to those that she came in contact with, those who called on the phone. As Cheryl, as you know, you get multiple phone calls for us, and Fran was just a pleasure to deal with and work with. Donna Creef, I don't think Donna's out here this morning, but she worked with Fran quite a bit. And while she was here, and Donna still works for us, Fran grew to love Donna quite a bit. And matter of fact, she considered her a second daughter and a very, very dear friend. So I know that that Donna is mourning her passing as well. There'll be a memorial service held this coming Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. at the Mount Olive United Methodist Church here in Manteo. So just two outstanding servants of our community, and may Fran rest in peace, and Miss Virginia, God bless you, and thank you for what you do for our community as well. County Manager, that completes the chairman's comments this morning.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. That would bring us to public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, now's the time that's set aside for public comment. If you have public comment this morning, please come to the podium and state your name and where you're from. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. There's a green light that comes on when your time begins. There's a yellow light that should come on when you have about a minute left. And when the red light comes on, you will need to conclude your remarks. We'll first go down to Buxton. Is there any public comment from Buxton?
No comment from Buxton.
No comment. So we'll go down on the sign-up sheet I have here. The first person I have is Charlie Parker.
Charlie, welcome again this morning.
Good morning, Bob. A sidebar. The chairman made some sort of comment about my colorful shirt. I would like it duly noted, everybody look at his bow tie. People who throw stones should be careful.
I was complimenting you. I didn't throw a stone at you.
Oh, I appreciate it, and I just gave you one.
Don't mislead the public on
No,
that.
no, it's having fun. I have a couple points today. I've noticed people have been talking about Jose Armando Marqueta Mayes. He's the man who tragically lost his life at the Bonner Bridge. Folks are talking about naming the part of the bridge to become a fishing pier after him. Wouldn't that be a wonderful tribute? I just hope the board would make a motion and work for something like this to happen. Now, here's our average Joe worker trying to do well with his family, and this happens. You know, we name bridges after presidents and everything else. Maybe it's time we name one after one of us guys. Thing number two. I heard last meeting and also in the past where the county manager mentions to the board to look at their packets for information on a topic. If a citizen was interested in a topic where this was mentioned, where would they go to get copies or read what's in those packets? Because it's information you folks are working on, and I think it behooves the public to know as much as you do so we understand what's going on. Specifically, I'm here for home and hospice, and there was mention of a packet about spreadsheets, things like that. It would be nice to see them because there could be somebody out in the public, a citizen, who sees and looks at those and sees something that perhaps you did not see. Nothing intentional or anything else like that, but more eyes looking at things would help the whole community. And in fact, if I saw everything, and I'm for keeping home and hospice, you all know that, but if I saw where all the due diligence comes up and says, Charlie, it's impossible, I would have to agree. But until then, I'm still advocating for home and hospice. Last point, I'm not a biker and I'm not a car fan, but the last 2 weeks have been so much fun on the Outer Banks. Just people having a wonderful time here. There's a guy with a blown Camaro 69 next to me, and I'm there, yeah. Well, then I was driving over here, and I drove past the empty event site. Now, these folks were all over the Outer Banks having a wonderful time, and the event site was empty. Is there a possibility that these two events were put on for the bikes and their cars, put on by local guys who are doing this to raise funds for local charities? Is there a way that they could get to use the event site for, a pittance? But it'd be great PR. Because right now, if you're trying to sell the event site and people say, well, what happened there? The answer is nothing. It's better to lose some money and gain good PR than to leave the place vacant. So those are my points. I hope you take them into consideration, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
I am a biker and I enjoyed 3 days of biking last week. I said, I am a biker and I enjoyed 3 days of biking last week.
Yeah.
And also, Charlie, keep in mind too, when these things were planned a year ago and the event center was closed because of COVID, so they
Right.
couldn't do the event site there, which they have done in the past years.
Yeah. Yeah, they had that 2019, I believe. Is that correct, Lee?
Yeah.
And because of COVID, Charlie, they couldn't use that site. And gatherings, large gatherings, governor controls that. So, but I'm sure down the road in the future, that's wide open. And Executive Director of the Vistas Bureau is here this morning. He's welcome to chime in on that when he comes up, he can respond to that. But that's one of the reasons for that, Charlie. Okay, County Manager.
Yes, sir. Next is Gina Elka.
Welcome, Ms. Elka.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Gina Elko. I've lived here for 22 years. I'm a retired captain from Nags Head Fire Department. I retired about 5 years ago, and I have a master's in educational studies. And I'd like to speak today about children. I have a first grader at Nags Head. I'd like to speak to you about critical race theory for the first half, and then children wearing masks for the second half. To start off, I'd like to read the North Carolina State Board of Education's vision, which is every public school student in North Carolina will be empowered to accept academic challenges, prepared to pursue their chosen path after graduating high school, and encouraged to become lifelong learners with the capacity to engage in globally collaborative society. Those last three words are kind of what bothered me. Critical race theory. Critical race theory is destructive and highly manipulative to children. It is hate-filled, divisive, and creates shame and victimhood. CRT, critical race theory, is culturally Marxist at its base, and that is a fact if you research it. The language has been changed to make it look otherwise. In reality, there is no desire to solve race issues, only to relish the political value of division. Critical race theory claims white privilege and all others are victims. Any psychologist will tell you that victimization does not lead to individual success. Character and merit leads to individual success. Critical race theory tells children they are racist by virtue of their skin color without having committed a racist act. Critical race theory is symbolism, not realism. At this time, many school districts are actually getting sued around the U.S. as critical race theory violates our Civil Rights Act. Critical race theory creates two groups, the oppressed and the oppressor. So I guess that means if they're starting it from K through 12, a second grader will be suppressing or oppressing another second grader, which doesn't make much sense. And I believe that the governor signed and adopted it February 21st, and I've spoken to many parents and many teachers, and they had no idea about it. And it's basically rewriting the history. And I believe that our school system should teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic. And if everyone's interested and worried about offending each other, I wonder if people consider what offends God. I go to Dowdy Park with my daughter. Two little brother and sister, little Indian children are playing, a little black child, my daughter who's white, and then another two little black boys, they're all playing. It doesn't even enter their mind the difference in race. So if they get in second, third, fourth, fifth grade, and 12th grade, how does that enter their mind? If they're not learning at home, how is it entering their mind? So I would suggest research, and I have packets for each of you as well that have, it's a binder about this big, and half of it's critical race theory and half of it's about children wearing masks. So I'd encourage you to maybe flip through it. It's not conjecture, it's a lot of history, which is fact because it already happened, and it's a lot of hypothesis and a lot of research. Now, since I only have 2 minutes left, I'd like to get on to the children wearing masks. Good news, Dare County has the highest rate of vaccination of the whole state. I don't know if anybody knew that. As of the 22nd of April, 47.5% of adults have at least been partially vaccinated, and 36.8% are fully vaccinated, and more than 76% of 65 and over have at least had one shot. Concerning kids wearing masks, I have a couple of questions. Why are they wearing masks? Because they're high risk? No. CDC has based none of the recommendations on children being required to wear masks. No. CDC is monitoring the science concerning updated guidelines for children. No. So basically, there was a concern, so we just put children in masks. It's interesting that many have bought into the idea that we are sick before proven healthy, which is absolutely the truth, which creates shame. And with no evidence-based science, it's just a ritualistic thing at this point. A couple of facts concerning wearing a mask for children is oxygen deprivation. Children require more oxygen than adults because their lungs are smaller and weaker. So after just a minute, their CO2 levels become 25% higher, and it makes dizziness and anxiety. It creates bacterial infection because we know children have bacteria because they're keeping on the mask. And psychological damage, they're being taught to fear. I'm not going to be able to read the rest of this, but I'd like to read Proverbs 3.6. In all thy ways acknowledge God, and he shall direct your paths. As we know, millions of children, healthy children, are wearing masks, and I pray that this board values their freedoms, which are God-given, not government-given.
Thank you, Ms. Elker. Have you addressed the Dare County Board of Education with your concerns?
I have not, because I just did all this past week.
I've been
working on this a month, but this is the first meeting I could get to.
I would suggest you attend their meeting.
Absolutely. And I have a bag of packets. Should I leave them? And it has all of your names on
You
each
can leave
binder.
with the clerk, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It is, it's almost 9:30. I'm going to take just a moment. Commissioner Ross is going to hook up with us via phone this morning. He's out of town. So give us just a couple of minutes and so that we can bring Commissioner Ross in on our meeting. What? 9:45. The time has changed. Instead of 9:30, it's 9:45. So I will break at 9:45. Continue, Mr.
Next
County
is
Manager.
Scott Gardner.
I'm sorry?
Scott Gardner.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Gardner.
Hi, Commissioners. And the last name is Garber, G-A-R-B-E-R.
Garber.
We went through emails today.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Anyhow,
Sorry about that.
that's okay. Anyhow, nice facility you have here, first time. I've owned in Dare County for about 20 plus years and just started my retirement. And I wanted to talk about Dare County Parks and Recreation and budgets. I know that later today you all have a budget workshop. So I just wanted to talk about optics of what taxpayers like myself are seeing in being a retiree and trying to play sports. We see Mago mics being purchased. We see fire trucks being purchased. And we see revenue coming in from the tourism tax. And a lot of that statement says it should be repurposed towards recreation and tourism, but in our towns and county. But talking to the leaders, Tim White, the director, and Ms. Midget, who runs the Dare County Rec Center, her funds are going to run out at the end in June when her camps start, and that gym is going to go dark. Now, I represent a group of people who play pickleball. I'm the pickleball guy that I've talked to Mr. Bateman about. And from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, that gym's going to be dark. We could have 4 hours of playtime, but they don't have a budget. They don't have the personnel to support it. So I'm coming today to you guys to, when you're doing this budget thing, that you might consider with Tim White, the director, and his budget, that you would include some extra funding so we can possibly get 2 nights a week and maybe some weekend play. That's pretty much it. One thing I might say in the tourism side, there's a website out there, it's called Places to Play, that you can look for pickleball. And when you open that up, this is the tourisms that come in. They say Places to Play. There's 5 locations in all of the North Beach District. 3 of them are public and 2 of them are membership driven. But there's no place to play. We don't have any surface playtime to support all the tourism as well as our residents. So please think about pickleball, retirees and the adults. Youth is important, but so are the adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garber. We will definitely look at that this afternoon.
That's all I have on my sign-ups. Anyone else like to speak at public comment? Anyone else here for public comment? I see no hands, Mr. Chairman, so we'll move on. Next is the presentation of the county service pins. We started doing these back in person today. In the past, when we've done these, we've had people who are eligible to get a pin that either couldn't or didn't want to appear before the board to get their pins. And I think that we're going to do a little bit different. Those folks need to be recognized anyway. We appreciate the work that they do, and we want to appreciate them publicly and in front of the board. And so this morning we have 4 people. We have 1 that's here. We have 3 that, for whatever reason, cannot attend this morning. I will read and talk about the ones that I cannot attend, and the one that's here in person will bring up and recognize her this morning as well. First on the list, we have Valerie Hayes. She works for our EMS as a paramedic. Today she's getting her 15-year pin. She was hired in May of 2006 as an EMT. During her tenure with Dare County EMS, she's continued her professional development and has been promoted twice. She was promoted to an EMT intermediate in 2008 and then to a paramedic in 2017. So I want to congratulate Valerie on her 15 years of service and thank her for her service to Dare County and its citizens. Next, we have Amanda Myers here to receive her 15-year pin, and she's going to have that presented by Holly Meekins. And Holly, if you come up to make that presentation.
Holly, Amanda, welcome.
Thanks. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. Amanda started with Dare Home Health and Hospice in May of 2006. She's a master's prepared physical therapist and graduated from the University of Georgia. Amanda's job involves going into people's homes and performing thorough medical assessments and functional evaluations, formulating a plan of treatment for each patient, instructing them on it, and evaluating their progress in order to help them achieve their established goals. These goals may be to rehab from a surgery, to get more mobile and stronger, or to adapt to a new health condition in order to remain safely in their homes. This is accomplished by a lot of coordination with doctors and families and caregivers, as well as a lot of coaching, cajoling, encouraging with the patients. She's very good at it. Amanda cares very deeply for her patients. She consistently goes above and beyond to help them. She's knowledgeable about the resources in the community and beyond, and has helped patients get assistance with everything from transportation to medication to get a ramp built. She gets it done. Amanda cares about her coworkers deeply and is quick to praise and encourage them. Amanda is knowledgeable about the ins and outs of the healthcare system and is able to share this knowledge with the new staff. She knows CMS regulations, how to do OASIS assessments, how to do medical coding, payment guidelines. This knowledge is gained from many years of working in the home health industry and is invaluable to our staff. She also knows our electronic medical record and helps and teaches others on how to use it, along with how to navigate its tricks and eccentricities, and there are a lot of them. Amanda cares very deeply about our agency. She is an advocate for growth and how to make it stronger and better. She's been very active through the years with our quality program and has developed quality projects suggested by our accreditors. She's done a lot of auditing of our medical records and makes suggestions on how we can improve things. If there's a new initiative out there, she's quick to learn it and share that knowledge with others. So you can see through the years, Amanda has gained a lot of industry knowledge about how to best provide care, and she cares deeply for our patients, her coworkers, our community, and our agency. So we appreciate all that she has done and continues to do. Thanks, Amanda.
Congratulations, Amanda.
Thank you.
Next, we have Thomas Bud Tillett. He's a senior equipment operator at our C&D landfill, and he's getting a 25-year pin this morning. Bud is an important senior member of the Public Works Department. His years of trucking experience combined with his knowledge of public works operation makes him the go-to employee to get the job done. Bud has played a key role at the C&D landfill in providing support to the landfill supervisor in his absence, as well as performing mechanic work on our heavy equipment. He helps to keep all aspects of the transfer station and the C&D landfill running smoothly, and Public Works is truly grateful for Bud's years of service. Thank you, Bud, for your 25 years and for your service to Dare County. And then last but not least for sure is Daniel Lee. Daniel's a fleet maintenance supervisor in our fleet maintenance shop, and he too is getting a 25-year pin this morning. He started with fleet maintenance department in 1996 at the age of 19. As a teenager, he enjoyed tinkering with mechanics and felt like it would be a good career path for him. Daniel's worn many hats in his department, such as a mechanic, a warehouse technician, and a senior mechanic. And recently, Daniel was promoted to fleet maintenance supervisor for his knowledge, experience, and leadership skills. He's a team player who has Dare County's best interest in mind with every decision that he makes. Public Works is truly grateful to have someone of Daniel's caliber within its ranks. And thank you, Daniel, for your 25 years of service and your service to Dare County. And I'd like to thank all of the 4 people receiving their service pins for their service to Dare County and the years of good work they've had for us.
Thank you, County Manager. 80 years total.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years.
Next, we would go to item number 4, and Lee Nettles is here. This is a Dare County Tourism Board request for a consent expenditure from restricted fund line item 4525.
Welcome this morning, Lee. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, since we're talking about the Soundside event side, I'd like to start off just by saying, Mr. Parker, we couldn't agree with you more. We were working with the car show event developers down to the last minute, but unfortunately the governor's executive order didn't allow for the event to take place out there, but we look forward to having that event and others out there very shortly. So get vaccinated, keep wearing your mask and doing what they tell you to, and we'll get there quick enough. The matter before you today that I'd like to raise your attention to, I'm real pleased to and excited to talk about a project, give you an update on a project that's happening at the Soundside, and request your consent on an expenditure from the long-term restricted fund of the Dare County Tourism Board. That would be for the design and engineering of a boardwalk that'll go on the west side of the Soundside event site. It'll tie into the boardwalk that already exists behind the ropes course in Pamlico Jacks, and it'll extend south to the Harvey Sound access, which is owned by the town. There have been talks about that project perhaps extending even further south, but the expenditure that I bring to you today is for design and engineering, basically behind the Soundside event site. We believe that this will be a real popular attraction both for locals as well as residents. Of course, anytime you get out over the Sound and in the wetland, you're dealing with CAMA, you're dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers, among others. The estimate that we've gotten, we selected a local firm, Albemarle and Associates, to do the work. And we're confident that with their experience with the Hatteras Island Walkway project, they're the right folks for the job. They're going to do surveying, environmental mapping, underwater mapping, and conceptual design. We'll have a couple of occasions to bring it before the public as well as tourism board. And we're just excited about the project. As with any restricted fund expenditures, it'll be paid on a reimbursement basis. We did the expenditures up to $90,000. This will carry us through to preparation of construction documents. The estimate does not include construction expenses, though. The timeline is to have this project completed by mid-December and hopefully have construction begin next spring.
Great. Good deal. Any questions, Lee? And yeah, go ahead.
Not a question. I'm ready to move when you're ready.
Okay. Then the pleasure of the board.
Yes, sir. I move that this board grant consent for expenditures up to $90,000 for Albemarle and Associates professional expenditures.
Second. The motion's on the floor by Commissioner Couch. I believe it was seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then, those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Look forward to that.
All right.
Chairman, I think Commissioner Ross is on the line now.
All right, we need to take a minute, Matt, to bring him in. Hello? I've been trying to reach you about your car warranty.
Exactly.
Good morning.
Commissioner Ross, good morning.
Hey, good morning, all. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to call in.
Great, good to have you. So we're, Commissioner Ross, we're getting ready to move into item 5 on the agenda, and I'll turn it over to the county manager.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, item 5 on the agenda, Chuck Lysette is here to make a presentation on Medicaid transformation. She was here as well if we have questions, but I'll turn this over to Chuck.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chuck.
Morning, Commissioners. This is just an update on Medicaid transformation. Let's see if I can get this to work here. There it goes. I know you've heard a lot about Medicaid transformation over the last couple of years, and more recently, I know Dave Peterson from Trillium has been here, but I just wanted to give you an update on the remainder of Medicaid transformation and how we got here and where we're going with it. There we go. What is Medicaid transformation? Medicaid transformation is the move from direct Medicaid, which is an insurance program that is run by the state, to managed care, which are individual insurance programs which are given a rate by the state to manage the funds for individuals' health. Eligibility will still be determined by Dare County Social Services, and it's the providers who will be requesting reimbursement for services from the individual insurance companies. So how did we get here? In 2015, the North Carolina General Assembly enacted a legislation ordering managed care in North Carolina with a go-live date of February 1st, 2020. In November 2019, Medicaid transformation was paused for a number of reasons. In July 2020, the General Assembly provided the funds to move forward with restarting the process of moving towards Medicaid managed care. Open enrollment began in March of this year and will continue until May 14th. Open enrollment is the time period in which individual beneficiaries are able to select from the 4 different health plans that serve Dare County which health plan they want to manage their Medicaid benefits. On July 1, 2021, we will move to Medicaid managed care. That is still on track as of today. 2 other parts about Medicaid managed care that are important to remember is that not everybody is going into Medicaid managed care right now. There is a small group of individuals who will come in at a later time period. That next group comes in July 1st, 2022, and that's the behavioral health and IDD tailored plans. That is the more severe individuals with more severe mental health needs that will go in at that point. The individual insurance plans could be different from what they are as of today. We don't know what those are. They will be awarded in probably the next 60 days. And at that point, we'll know what those plans are. They will manage both the mental health and the health component for each of those beneficiaries. And then in July 1, 2023, the foster care tailored plan will go live. Currently, foster children are served under Medicaid Direct, and in 2023, they will have a specific plan for all foster children. The hope is that it is one plan that will serve all foster children throughout the state. So just briefly about the 2 different types of plans. Currently, we have the standard plan, which will be Medicaid managed care, which is a majority of the individuals will move to in July of this year. This is a comprehensive health plan for most health services. And as I'll show you in just a second, what those are covered. And then you have what is known as a tailored plan, like I mentioned previously, that it covers both the medical and the behavioral health or IDD services. The 4 plans that will serve Dare County are listed on this screen. There is a 5th plan, but they will not be serving Dare County residents. Dare County residents who receive Medicaid will be able to choose from one of these plans during the open enrollment. Once open enrollment is done, they will be assigned a plan if they have not already selected a plan, and then they will have a period of 90 days to change that plan if they are not happy with that plan. What do the plans offer? They cover office visits, blood tests, x-rays, pharmacy, non-emergency medical transportation. And likewise, each plan may offer additional services for wellness like smoking cessation, how to have a healthier pregnancy, healthier eating. So how do I select a plan in North Carolina? North Carolina is contracted with a company to be the enrollment broker here in North Carolina. And those are the individuals who can provide consultation for Medicaid beneficiaries as to which plan to select, which plan might cover their doctors, and which plan might be best for them. There are multiple ways of doing that. It is to go to the ncmedicaidplans.gov website. It's to use the mobile app. It's to call the 800 number, or if they've received a form, to fill it out and mail it back to the enrollment broker. Dare County, it was thought, and it's thought sometimes, that Dare County Social Services is the one who provides education about selecting a plan, and we can legally not do that. They've selected the enrollment broker to be an independent agent in order to help beneficiaries select those plans. So where are we in Dare County at this point? Dare County has approximately 6,400 Medicaid beneficiaries. About 4,000, a little bit over 4,000 will transition to Medicaid managed care on July 1. As of April 27th, about 4.79% had selected a prepaid health plan. You think that sounds low, but that's actually about where they predicted the numbers would be at this point. To give you a better perspective, there are 2.5 million beneficiaries in North Carolina, and as of Friday, about 90,000 had selected a prepaid health plan. The estimate is about 10 to 12% will actually select a plan, and then the remainder will be auto-enrolled after May 14th. So what do I do to find out if my doctor what plan my doctor is enrolled in or my therapist is enrolled in? One is to contact your provider, and 2 is to go to ncmedicaidplans.gov. It's important for beneficiaries to go and do their research because not all providers are signing up with every plan. They're not required to sign up with every plan. If you have one medical provider who is in this plan and another medical provider who is in a different plan, you need to make some decisions as a beneficiary, or you may need to realign your doctors so that they're all within that same plan. Any questions?
Chuck, just for clarification, you brought up a really good point there. If folks are seeing multiple doctors, which is not unusual, and one doctor is on Blue Cross and the other one is on AmeriHealth, for example, then how would they basically handle that situation?
They're going to have to find doctors that are on the same plan. So they may have to switch doctors or therapists. Correct.
Their only option in that case is to switch doctors.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Chuck, another question. Say the person who doesn't sign up, and then you pre-select the plan for them.
Correct.
When that happens, and they all of a sudden find out they can no longer go see Dr. Billy Bob, can they go back and change to another plan?
Yes, they will have 90 days to switch plans, and at that point, they will be locked into a plan. So even after Medicaid managed care rolls out, say they get the notice in the mail, they put it to the side, or they open it up, say, oh, that's my doctor, but all of a sudden I go to see my doctor, and then he sends me somewhere else as a follow-up, not realizing that my plan doesn't cover that doctor. They can then make a switch up to that 90-day period.
Okay.
Then is it an annual renewal?
They don't have to select every year, but there will be an open enrollment period where they can switch.
Okay.
Correct.
Chuck, just one more point, and that is if someone does not choose, if they don't pick a plan, for example, and a plan is chosen for them, that is not being done by Dare County. That's being done through the state.
That is through the state. They will be looking to see what plans, there's probably a large algorithm to figure all of this out, but they will be looking at who the providers are in Dare County, what plans are offered in Dare County, and the computer will select the best plan for you.
Right, okay, just want to clear that up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
This is Rob at this end. Chuck, just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
What is your confidence level regarding the smoothness of transition come July? Not to be a worry worm here, but it sounds like we could have potential for lots of confusion this summer.
I don't know the level of confusion. There will be some confusion. If individuals have not kept up and not selected their plans, I would anticipate that there will be some level of confusion, especially if you are seeing more than one doctor, more than one provider. There will be some confusion with that, and we can help. Social services can direct those individuals to where they need to go to help figure that out.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Well, Chuck, thank you for that update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that brings us to item 6 on the agenda. This is a proclamation for Older Americans Month. If you'd like, I'll read that proclamation.
Would you please?
Whereas Dare County includes a growing number of older Americans who have built resilience and strength over their lives through successes and difficulties. And whereas Dare County benefits when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are included and encouraged to share their success stories of resilience. And whereas Dare County recognizes our need to nurture ourselves, reinforce our strength, and continue to thrive in times of both joy and difficulty. And whereas Dare County can foster communities of strength by creating opportunities to share stories and learn from each other, engaging older adults through education, recreation, and service, and encouraging people of all ages to celebrate connections and resilience. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dare County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 2021 to be Older Americans Month. We urge every resident to recognize older adults and the people who support them as essential contributors to the strength of the community. This third day of May 2021.
Mr. Chairman, as the oldest commissioner that sits on this board, I'd like to move to approve this resolution.
And out of respect for our older generation.
Thank you very much.
There's a motion on the floor by the vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, as the youngest member of this commission, I'd like to second that motion.
And it's been seconded by Commissioner House. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Chairman, item 7 on the agenda is a proclamation for EMS Week, and Deputy Chief Terry Sheehy is here to make that presentation.
Welcome this morning, Deputy Chief.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, whereas emergency medical services is the community's medical care safety net, filling gaps and providing access into the healthcare system by delivering important out-of-hospital care, including preventative education and activities, life-saving and time-critical interventions, and acute and non-acute medical services. And whereas emergency medical services personnel serve our community on the front lines, often with personal sacrifices of being away from their families on nights, weekends, and holidays, and all types of adverse weather conditions, and facing numerous threats to ensure our community receives the best care possible. And whereas this last year, emergency medical services were faced with unprecedented health and safety challenges due to the pandemic, which resulted in monumental changes in everyday procedure. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams engage in thousands of hours specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. And whereas this year's national theme for Emergency Medical Services Week is "This is EMS, Caring for Our Communities." Now therefore be it resolved that the Dare County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the proclamation for EMS Week.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House. It's been
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Tobin and Bateman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Deputy Chief, we're very, very fortunate in Dare County to have the caliber of employees and EMS that we have in our county, and we can't thank you enough for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It wouldn't be possible without the support of the county and the board. So thank you for all that y'all do for us.
Thank you.
Terry, as you well know, and I'll make this, the board is aware of it too. Not only is Dare County EMS recognized throughout the state as one of the top EMS systems, it's also recognized throughout the nation as one of the top EMS systems. So with that, keep that in mind as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, item 8 is a resolution appointing a review officer for the town of Manteo. Each community has, when they do development, has to record plats and plans, and the review officer's job is to review that plat and determine if it meets the requirements to allow it to be recorded. Donna Crease serves that function for Dare County. This is a resolution to appoint Melissa Dickerson, the planner for the town of Manteo, to perform that function for the town of Manteo. I'll read it if you like, but that's what the resolution basically says, is that pursuant to the statute, you would be appointing Melissa Dickerson as that review officer. Would you like me to read it, or?
I don't know that we need to read that.
I've read it.
Yep,
Yeah, it's
yep.
pretty
We've
straightforward.
all seen it, so.
Move to approve.
There's a motion on the floor by the Vice Chairman to approve it, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Couch. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And then item 9 on the agenda is the Dare County Home Health and Hospice. I want to discuss with you the possibility of doing a retention bonus should we move forward with that transaction. It's important for the county and for the citizens of the county who receive those services that we have staff available to perform those services between now and whenever the transition might occur, if it occurs. Similarly, once that occurs, if it occurs, then it's important that there's staff available to continue that continuity of care for the new provider. In order to facilitate that, I'm proposing that we do a retention bonus. We're looking at 10% of the employee's salary. 50% of that would be paid at the time of closing if the employee was still employed by Dare County. And then the other 50% would be paid sometime later. Typically that number is 9 months, our attorney tells us, but somewhere in that range we would have to talk to Bright Spring about that. The funding for that would come off the top of the purchase price, and the cost of that, depending on how many employees chose to take advantage of that, would be something less than $100,000.
Any questions of the county manager concerning the, if the potential of the sale goes through, a retention bonus for staff? Then what's the pleasure of the board?
Bobby, I do have a question. You said that 50% would be initially at the time of the change and then 50% at some specified time later. Do you have a feel for what that timing should be?
When I talked with Aaron Roberts about that, it's typically around 9 months. In our discussions with Bright Springs, we would need to have that discussion for the contract, but that's what she says is, quote, normal, but there's no magic in that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
There's a motion then on the floor by the Vice Chairman to approve this retention bonus. It's been seconded by Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Next is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have the approval of the minutes. You have the Dare County Sanitation Budget Amendment for the Rubble Transfer, Maintenance, and Repair. You have Dare County Sanitation Budget Amendment for container purchases. You have a Dare County Sanitation Budget Amendment for vehicle maintenance and repair. You have Engineering Contract Amendment 1 for the Colington Road Water Line Project. And you have the Sheriff's Department, it's a budget amendment to budget in grants as well.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bateman to approve the consent agenda as presented. Seconded by Commissioner Tobin and House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Next are your board appointments. First is your extraterritorial jurisdiction board for the town of Southern Shores. John Finelli's term expires in June, and he is requested to be reappointed for another 3-year term.
Move to reappoint.
A motion on the floor by Commissioner House to reappoint. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Overman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Next is your Dare County Board of Adjustments. Jay Hart's term expires this month, and he has requested to be reappointed for another 3-year term.
Move to reappoint Jay Hart.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner House to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tobin and Vice Chairman Overman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And then for your upcoming board appointments, you'll have a busy June. In June, you have the College of the Albemarle Board of Trustees with 1 term expiring, the Hatteras Community Center Board with 3 terms expiring, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council with 16 terms expiring, the Land Transfer Tax Appeals Board with 3 terms expiring, the Dare Library Board with 2 terms expiring, the Mans Harbor Community Center Board with 3 terms expiring, the Roanoke Island Community Center Board with 4 terms expiring, the Rodanthe Wave Salvo Community Center Board with 2 terms expiring, the Transportation Advisory Board with 1 term expiring, and the Waterways Commission with 3 terms expiring. In July, you have the East Lake Community Center Board with 1 term expiring, the Game and Wildlife Commission with 4 terms expiring, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council with 9 terms expiring, and the Wanchese Community Center Board with 5 terms expiring. And then in August, you have the ABC Board with 3 terms expiring, the Dare County Center Advisory Board with 4 terms expiring, the Jury Commission with 1 term expiring, and the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council with 1 term expiring. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that would be your agenda.
Thank you, Bobby. Vice Chairman had a question about on extra.
Southern Shores. Did I miss something?
So John Finelli has served in that role for as long as I can remember.
Okay, that was John Finelli.
Right.
Okay,
All right.
no sweat, sorry.
Yeah, that was a little
Missed it.
confusion.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you, County Manager. That brings us to item 12, Commissioner's Business, County Manager's Attorney Business. And at this time, Commissioner Couch, you mind kicking that off this morning?
Yes, sir, and good morning, everyone. Just a quick report on how busy things are down on the southern end of the Outer Banks. I have been traveling throughout the county and just marvel at the amount of traffic out there and people enjoying our beaches and enjoying the hospitality that we have here. There is a labor shortage. It is severe. We've heard Irvin and the rest of this board talk about it. We're feeling it down there as well. The Fessenden Center in Buxton is hosting a job fair for our senior citizens who might be retired with a whole host of opportunities there. The grocery stores are going to be in, the restaurants, the real estate offices and everything. So we hope that will relieve some of the pressure. And just a couple of pass on some news of some obituaries. Gary McGee up in Kerala, he was very much a part down in this area. He lived up there for the past 17 years, but he was a town manager for the town of Hickory for many years. Just a good guy, fun guy to be around. And also down in Ocracoke, there's a fella, they called him Bill Gaskell. I don't know how he got the name Bill because that was none of his first or middle names, but he was one of your, there was nothing that guy couldn't do. He had every tool that you could imagine, and it all had its place. If he didn't have that tool in his workshop, it didn't exist down there. And just a wonderful guy that down in Hatterson, Ocracoke, we enjoy a lot of camaraderie. And I mean, it went from 1728 to 1846. The two islands were actually connected. So just want to mention Gary and Bill as well. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bateman?
Yes, sir. You know, Gary McGee was also the town manager of Kitty Hawk.
That's right.
Yeah, and he did a really great job. It was a very turbulent time and politically when he came aboard, and he kind of soothed it down, and did a great job there. His wife is also Linda McGee, who was a appellate court judge for the state of North Carolina, I believe, and she's a super nice lady. So he hit a nail on the head about the labor bit, y'all. There was a Facebook post that someone sent me, and it came from the gentleman who owns Lucky 12. This guy started at the rock bottom of the restaurant business, worked himself up, bought him a restaurant. He's having to close on Sunday and Monday. He has housing for his employees. He's trying to hire cooks. He's trying to hire bussers, bartenders, and cannot find people. It's not a housing issue always. A lot of it has to do with the fact that America doesn't want to work anymore. And that's a sad, sad situation. I'm running into it right now. I will tell you, Scott, there's always a bus job at Sugar Creek Restaurant or Lucky 12 or somewhere instead of pickleball. It's a great workout.
Can I say something about volunteers?
No more retirement.
Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bateman. Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to once again say thank you to our service pin recipients, Valerie, Amanda, Bud, for their 80 years of service to Dare County. Very, very special. A lot of years represented there. And also with regard to the Medicaid transformation, I think it bears to say this again. Thanks to Chuck for going through the presentation that he did to explain this. I think he explained it very well. People need to pay attention to this and do their homework. There's going to be less confusion now if you go ahead and buckle down and do your homework and get your plan chosen versus having a plan chosen for you. And from what Trillium has told us and the updates that we've gotten from them, basically the way that process is going to occur is of the folks who have not assigned or have not chosen a plan, basically this algorithm or computer or whatever that the state is going to be using is just going to go down through the plans, and if you're the next one on the list, you get the first plan. If you're the second one on the list, you get the second plan. If you're the third one, and so on. And then you're going to be faced with the confusion if one of your providers does not use one of those plans, then you're going to be faced with doing this within this 90-day period, and you're going to be under a lot more pressure than you're going to be under now if you do it ahead of time. So just encouraging everyone that need this to please go ahead and get this done. Dorothy, in that respect, I don't know if we can put some things on the county website to further advertise this or whatever, anything we can do to make folks aware of this. And again, Chuck's presentation would be a great start for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Commissioner House?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You started off this meeting with acknowledging two very, very prominent women. And I'm having to follow suit with you. In the Division of Marine Fisheries, Kathy Rawls has been named the new director for North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries effective May 1st. She has plenty of experience to draw from. She's been on the division for more than 25 years. And the past 7 years, she was a fishery management sector chief. She will be the first woman ever to hold that position in the state. She, like I said, she's been there since 1990 and worked her way up and through. And she has her bachelor's degree from marine biology from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington that she got in 1989. So my congratulations to her, and I look forward to working with her quite a bit in the next few recent months. And I don't need car insurance. There we go. On a sad note, we've had a passing of another one of our dear citizens here on the Outer Banks, and this one is a true hero. Colonel Donna Kimberly Doherty, USAF, retired. She died on April 15th in Kildover Hills under the care of Hospice and her family. She was a proud patriot and served our country honorable for over 25 years. Her military and educational accomplishments, I'm having a hard time speaking today. Here is a long list of accomplishments that just any one of them would be outstanding for an individual. She served as Deputy Chief of the United States House of Representatives Air Force Liaison Office, Principal Deputy Assistant to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Vice President of National Security at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Mobilization Assistant to the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, and she graduated from National War College in Washington, D.C., and the FBI National Academy in Guantanamo, Virginia. Despite her heady assignments in and around the D.C. area, her most satisfying assignment as commander of the 916th Security Forces, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, in her hometown of Goldsboro, North Carolina. She, as I said, even with any one of those accolades, you can see that as an outstanding military career, and she went through all of them. And to really drive home what type of person she was, she has asked that in her honor, or in her memory, in lieu of flowers, donate to your local SPCA. So Donna, rest in peace, and she will be interned in Arlington National Cemetery. And for my third woman is our day in history. In 1979, Margaret Thatcher was the first woman Prime Minister of Great Britain, was signed into oath today in 1979. As you know, with as a Prime Minister of Great Britain, you're voted on by Parliament, and you have to appear before the royal family, the Queen, and has to give her approval of the Prime Minister, even though that is more or less just a procedural thing. But it was, from what I understand from records, it was a very touching meeting between the Queen and Margaret Thatcher on that appointment. And I think we all can tell what Margaret Thatcher did while she was Prime Minister, and my accolades go out to her as well. The weather forecast for the last 2 weekends, I guess you would say rolling thunder. The motorcycle groups was in the weekend before last, and last weekend we had big block blown engines running up and down the roads, and it was just, both weekends were just phenomenal. And I don't have the total numbers yet, but I will say that thousands of dollars were raised for our children here in Dare County, just with those two events. On another note, a lot of the fishing bills that have hit in our General Assembly have been kind of mild, to say the least. Some of them have been pretty strict, but they're dealing with them and making them all. The one that came across that I wanted to really bring up to everybody to look at, and it was filed on April 12th from Representative Richardson, and an act to provide a referendum to limit indiscriminate net fishing in the coastal waters of the state. In other words, what this bill is intending to do is to make gill netting and even nets over 500 square feet illegal in the state of North Carolina. So we are definitely looking at that as well. It has not had any movement as of yet, and but it doesn't appear to be moving that much in the near future. But it's something that I'll be definitely keeping my eye on and lobbying a few of our representatives up in Raleigh about as well. So I just want to make y'all be aware of that, and we might have to take a resolution action on that later on, just depending on what kind of feedback I get. And with that, I'm good. Have a great week.
Thank you, Commissioner House. I appreciate it. Commissioner Ross, can you hear me?
I certainly can, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I just wanted to run down a couple of quick items. Listening to and pursuing some of the conversations we had regarding housing, developing essential housing, I would just urge all of us in our interactions to keep up the pressure for additional action steps, both within the towns, with developer partners, with our consultants at UNC Chapel Hill. I just cannot understate the urgency that I personally feel in talking with constituents, talking with you all on the board, and listening to the pleas for help from those around us to help relieve some of this pressure. Number two, Vice Chairman Overman touched on it very well. I won't expand other than to say Medicaid transformation, and thank you, Chuck, for your presentation. Remember, guys, we've got 2.5 million recipients, and so far, with 58 days left for signing up to a plan, we have 4% registered. That means 96% either haven't decided to, are undecided, or haven't any idea that this is coming. And I would just urge us, as much as possible, Chuck, and I know you will, to be on the alert for possible confusion or consternation on the receiving end of all of those in such need of these very vital services. I look forward to the June 1 next announcement with regard to governor's guidance in our current state of emergency with regard to COVID-19, since indications, vaccinations, the absence of outbreaks all seem to indicate a closer return to a more normal environment. Touching on that, I know there was a Senate bill, and I apologize, I don't know the status, that was submitted to sort of restrict future governors in terms of emergency powers, so that the legislature and governor combined would jointly govern emergency status. And I don't know where that stands, but it seemed like a good idea to me to have multiple groups in our government managing emergency status. And finally, on a personal note, I will be remaining here in Ohio for a bit. Charlotte is stable, doing well, and we will continue her treatment here in Columbus, as the doctors and hospital have been doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross. Hang in there.
We're with you, Ross.
Yeah, man.
Commissioner Tobin?
Well, thank you. I have a slideshow, I believe.
Yeah, lay it on.
On the, everyone, we're going to have a slideshow. Just so everybody knows, the dredge is still moving along quite nicely. They've got all the mid-body and stern nests completed. They're starting to cut the bow package, which is kind of exciting. That's in shop number one. This vessel's in 2 shops. This is the bottom of the vessel, and those are some of the frame members. But frame 17 through 30, which are the port and starboard, are complete, but they do need to have the tipping brackets installed to them. They're getting welded onto the starboard and the port sides. The mid-body main deck and the side shell plates have been fit, and one side of it has been welded. And they're ready for the stiffener installations. The hopper panels are being prepped and fitted. The bottom shell panels are being fit. And they've gotten several shipments of more steel. And we were really lucky when we signed this contract because steel prices were really low. It was kind of right at the height of COVID. And right now, it would have been a lot more expensive to build this ship.
It's almost as bad as lumber is right now.
Yeah. But other than that, in my memories, it came up that 4 years ago, this past Saturday was when I was sworn in as a commissioner. So, and on a sad note, we had an automobile wreck right across from the marina this week, just a few days ago, and it was a heroin overdose, and the lady passed away, and there was a 2-year-old in the car with her. The 2-year-old was fine, but I think prayers are in order for everybody involved in that, especially for that 2-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, Commissioner Toby. Appreciate that. County manager, that brings us to county manager's business. You have anything for us?
Just real briefly, again, I want to remember Fran Harris as well. I've worked with Fran for my whole tenure as county attorney since 2000, and in my practice even before that, and a finer, nicer person you'll never meet. She was always kind and generous and never had an unkind word to say with anybody. Well, she'll certainly be missed, and so rest in peace, Fran.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Our public information officer, Ms. Hester, you're nodding your head nothing today, I guess. We're good to go, right? Yes, sir. Thank you, as always, for being here. And last, certainly, but not least, our finance director, Mr. Clausen. Do you have anything for us this morning?
No, sir, not till.
You about ready to have something for us in a few minutes? Yeah. I feel like I have to do this every meeting, and we'll keep doing it until it sinks in. And I'm going to respond to Mr. Garber's request, and we'll look at this in our next meeting, budget-wise. The county has certain pots of money. And when we're always approached about, well, the county's building this, and the county's purchasing this, and the county's doing beach nourishment here, those are two pots of money. The land transfer tax, the monies that we receive from that are designated funds that we cannot use for any other purpose other than building new facilities or purchasing land. 2% of our 6% occupancy tax is designated for beach nourishment. We cannot use those funds for any other thing other than to nourish our beaches. Those are two examples of two pots of money that are designated that we can't use. So just to help continue to educate the public, there are certain pots of money where we have to do things, and in the general fund is where we're talking that we can maybe certainly help out with Parks and Recs. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn until 5 p.m. on May the 17th.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House to do so, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Is any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen.